so we can reference the workshop afterwards. And if there's anything we need to edit out, we can just make stuff.
Recording in progress.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I am Sundiata, and I am here on behalf of the Frenchtown Neighborhood Improvement Association to bring to you quite a bit of information over the next couple of weeks, and then that level of information and content will transition into a number of workshops over several weeks to continue to prepare up-and-coming farmers as well as established farmers and ranchers and other small business entrepreneurs that are in the realm of food, product creation, food distribution, value-added production, things of that nature, so that you can really grasp these concepts and be able to enhance your business and enhance your operation as you move forward and evolve in your business. So we want to start out by saying welcome and thank you for your participation. And we look forward to the numbers growing over the next couple of weeks as word gets out and the traction is developed for this program. So what we want to do first is start with what this series of workshops is really all about. The curriculum was emailed, or it was put in the chat. So we want to make sure that everybody downloads that curriculum so that you can follow along with the lecture today or with the presentation this evening. And what we're offering is for everybody to capture one of these. So the curriculum that you get in the chat and that you'll be able to download is actually here in a hard copy format. All right. So we want to make sure that everyone who's participating gets a copy of the curriculum, a hard copy, so that you can keep notes. And hopefully by the next workshop, the majority of you would have got a copy of this curriculum, and you'll be able to follow properly and just, take notes and fill in the questions that it's asking, because the curriculum is very interactive. And we'll be having a back and forth session this evening. We'll try to get through it as quickly as we can. We're not going to necessarily take questions this evening. If you do have any questions, you can put it in the chat, and the moderators will get those questions to me, or they'll ask them, and then we can address them right there on the spot. So the program itself, the Farmers Market and Local Food Promotion Program. So basically what we're attempting to do, what we want to see happen in our area, is that we want to take those farmers, ranchers, small business people, and we want to increase the profitability of your operation. We want to create and expand market opportunities, increase revenue for different products. We want to also create or improve sustainable environmental practices on your farm or ranch or within your business. We also want to increase capacity and knowledge in the areas of agriculture and business operations through training and technical assistance. So those are some of the primary objectives of this particular training. All right, and all of these objectives can be achieved through the creation of value-added products, which is the core of this particular series of workshops. Value-added products, as well as financial and business training for you to be able to run and operate your business in a capacity that's sustainable, and it'll give you the level of comfort to where you're not freaking out about, how to handle your books, what opportunities are out there that you feel you may not be privy to or that you don't have access to. We're going to have a series of workshops, trainings, and people to come in and really advise you on where to go to find various resources for financial resources, technical resources, different types of training other than these workshops, and be a resource unto all of you who's interested in value-added product creation as well as business expansion. So what we want to do is shed light on the various opportunities that exist and offer you an opportunity to think outside of the box. So the Tallahassee Farmers Market Promotion Program will also provide these benefits to the local community. What we'll end up doing is it'll be an increased tax base, job creation, convenience and healthier food options, and increased revenue for surrounding businesses. Hello, sir. How are you? Good to see you. And so through these trainings, we have three primary objectives. Objective 1, increase direct producer to consumer access to locally grown, fresh, and value-added products through an expansion of the Frenchtown Farmers Market and additional markets in the region, which we are working diligently to figure out how to make that happen. The second objective, we want to reduce on-farm waste and increase income for farmers through a value-added development program that provides training, food safety certifications, marketing strategies for producers and other interested parties using the Kitchen Share resource. So Kitchen Share is something that we will get into a few workshops down the road. So the workshops today will kind of go a little bit into the basics that some of you may have already have explored on your own as a small business person or a farmer. But these first 2 units will give us a refresher and it will be a reminder of some of the things that we should be thinking about as we grow within our business. And the third objective is to reduce food insecurity through the identification and processing of excess food in the local food system.
Do you want me to share my screen? That way they can see that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think this one pretty much has me covered.
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
So we'll do that.
that'd be good. Okay, so our moderator is going to, do you like to be called moderator? Is that okay?
That is okay.
Okay, so the moderator is going to share the screen so that everybody can actually see the curriculum as we move forward through it. So those are our 3 main objectives. Increase direct producer to consumer access to locally grown, fresh, and value-added products. Reduce on-farm waste, and that's a big one, and it hits home for me because I'm a composter, and composting is my passion, it's my craft, and it's what I do, and I like to think that I do it pretty well. And so reducing that on-farm waste is critical because so many farmers in our surrounding areas, and I've seen it before when crops began to go to seed, or there might be blemishes on crops and they're not maybe market worthy or worthy enough to pass out and give out to family and friends. They'll take those greens or they'll take those vines and they'll just throw it in the pathways of the area where cars and trucks may drive over them. And it just eventually breaks down and goes back into the ground, but it's not serving a true purpose. And so to know that we're able to take that waste, even if it's not pretty, even if it's a ugly piece of fruit or a ugly blemished set of mustard greens or collard greens, knowing that we could take that excess food that's not necessarily market worthy and bring it into a kitchen and process it and turn it into a new product, that's going to allow increased profit share for that farmer and reduce the overall waste, which we know has a tremendous impact on our environment. So we want to make sure that we keep that also at the forefront of what we do. Okay, so Ms. Moderator, are we screen and shared? Okay, so what I do, you'll just end up doing. That's basically how we do it. Okay. Yourself, but it's imperative that we revisit some of these things to make sure that you are asking yourself the right questions when it comes to your business and what you want to do and where you want to go. So, knowing your operation, who are you, right? What are your values? What do you do? And what is your passion? Many of you are into agriculture, into producing products, into whatever entrepreneurial craft that you're into, is because you have a passion for it and you learn at some point in your life what it is that you enjoy doing, what it is that gives you satisfaction. So we want to revisit those things and take you back to those passions, back to those thoughts and those memories that allowed you to get to that point of going into business that you're currently in or wanting to jump into a business that you're thinking about going into. All right, so this is where it gets a little interactive and why over the next couple of workshops, we want you all to have access to these workbooks, okay? So that should be the primary goal going into the beginning of next week, is to get participants these hard copy workbooks if you're in the Big Bend, Tallahassee, Leon County, Big Bend area, okay? So let's get started with the basics. And if you all at home are going to write some of these things down, that's fine. I will give just a minute for you to do so as we move through this curriculum. All right, so what I'd like for you to do is describe your current or future operation in 1 to 3 sentences. Whether you're in business now, just give me 3 sentences that describe your business or the business that you may want to go into. Give me 3 sentences that describe what it is that you want to, that you're endeavoring on, what your endeavors are. So I'll just give everybody a minute to write that down. And a lot of what is in these first 2 units will be revisited again a couple of units down the road and gone in, and it'll go in a lot more deeper into details to help you revisit what we do today or this evening, and then sharpen and hone your skill set in regards to, why you're doing this thing. Why are you even into this? What is it about the food industry? What is it about the cottage industry? What is it about preparing items and foods and meals in a commercial kitchen? What is it about making jams and jellies or making kimchi? All types of products that can be created from food. And we can even go into animals as well, right? But we'll get to those things a little bit later. Okay, so everybody should have your 3 sentences. Okay, so hold those near and dear to you. Hopefully in another workshop, we'll be able to revisit some of these items that you wrote down, and you can share that with the group. Okay, so values, right? These are the things that are important to you, that are going to help lead you into what it is that you love, what it is that you enjoy. So what are values and why are they important in this process? Values are your standards, beliefs, or qualities that you consider upholding or worth pursuing. Your values reflect your view on life and decisions about the things that you find critically important. Your values will actually shape your business strategy and your whole operation, management choices as you continue to expand. So let's identify some of your values. So identifying your own values. Let's take time to identify some of your values. Ask yourself, what does being successful mean? Which of the following statements are true for you? So these are just a few that we put down just to give you an idea, all right, and some hints and clues about how to come up with your own values. So to me, being successful in farming means what? Paying down our expenses, putting money away for the future, farming full time, taking pride in the products you produce, creating a place for the next generation to farm, and you see the rest of those potential values. So a lot of times when there are value exercises, they may ask you to come up with one word to describe your values. But we're looking at what are the things that are critically important to you and for the success of your business. Because those values are going to help guide your business. It's going to help guide your operation. And a lot of people who go into small businesses or go into entrepreneurship and start a business, they aren't faced with these questions in the very beginning. They have a passion, they have a love for something, and they just want to do it. But these questions and critical analysis of self will allow you the opportunity to really see the direction that you could go in as a small business person. So, going a little deeper, all right, we're going to look at 4 categories for you to identify some of your values. So, we're going to look at personal, economic, environmental, and community values. So, again, ask yourself, these are some of the examples. What type of life do I want to lead? Right? That's a personal value, you know, whatever that answer is. What do I consider financially important? That's in the realm of economics. What role does the environment play in my life? Environmental. And how do I define community and why is it important? That's a community value. So I want you to think about those 4 aspects as you think about what's important to you regarding those 4. All right, and if any of you are working with other people with your business, these are great exercises to do with your teammates and with people that work with you or work for you. So you want to gain a better understanding of what motivates them. And then that way you can sort of craft how you deal with each individual employee or each individual colleague to make the environment as best for them as you possibly can if you know what motivates them. Okay. All right. So this is a worksheet on your values. So think about your values and list them in the space below. Consider what it means for you to be successful in farming or within your field of entrepreneurship. And try distinguishing between your personal, economic, environmental, and community values. Again, what's important to you? What motivates you in those 4 aspects? If you're having trouble putting it down on paper, you know, you might want to try writing something out, like a little small paragraph or a small essay to talk about and write about what's truly important to you in those 4 arenas. All right, and I guess one way to kind of help you with that, begin by recalling a critical turning point in your life when you were faced with a serious trade-off. Do I do this? Do I do that? Opportunity cost, right? Do I choose A or do I choose B based on my values, based on what it is that I want to experience and what success means to me? Do I choose this one or do I choose that one? It's always a trade-off, right? That's the opportunity cost. So think about what values guided you. All right, so I'm gonna give everybody a moment and maybe just write 1 or 2 things in each of those corresponding categories: personal, economic, environmental, community. What is important to you? What motivates you?
So Cynthia, would you
Yes.
be able to give us some examples, like maybe for you, on like a personal value
Absolutely,
for like
yes.
compost community?
Right. So with my current operation, Compost Community, a personal value for me is, you know, and these exercises can be pretty difficult at times. But for me, it's like a feeling of pride, right? It's a feeling of joy that I get knowing that I'm able to just go out and do that work, right? And of course, what I do is expansive in terms of the duties and operations of my business, but it's a certain amount of happiness that I get. And that's a personal thing. That's a personal feeling that I get when I'm doing my work. Like, I'll give you an example. When I'm doing something as simple as taking the temperatures of my compost piles, right? And I'm meeting my temperature range, right? What we call PFRP, process to further reduce pathogens. If I'm meeting those ranges, it literally makes me feel good inside. So there's a level of happiness and joy that I get from meeting that particular goal. Another one is there's satisfaction. There's a certain level of satisfaction knowing that I'm doing something the right way. I've gone through trainings, I've gone to multiple workshops, and I've learned to do it the right way. And so when I see that process paying off, it gives me a certain level of satisfaction, right? So, so let's talk about an economic value. For me, I want to leave a legacy for my children. And that's through whether it be land ownership, leaving the business to my posterity, hopefully teaching them hard work, but setting them up for their future financially so that they're not just struggling, There's a mentality of poverty that exists within many communities across this country. And it's a difficult thing to beat that mentality because you don't even know that you have it until somebody looks at you and they face you and they tell you, you suck at how you deal with money. You're not good with how you handle your finances. And I've been told that. I've gotten a little better, but there's still a lot that I need to do within my own personal life to, create that legacy that I want to leave for my children. Ms. Moderator, am I answering your questions?
You are.
So to speak?
Thank you.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. We do have a participant here in the building. I might want to, actually 2 participants, right? But I want to maybe put them on the spot for just a second. Would you care to share any of the values within these categories that you thought about? And Ms. Donna too, if you're thinking about anything.
Should I say my name or just say?
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
Okay.
Definitely introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Cedric Chandler, and I guess on the personal value, I wrote down that I want to live a life of freedom because I think farming has a definitely level of freedom that comes with it. It's a personal thing. It's your responsibility to get up and to do the processes and what it takes to make a farm successful. And also I put down that knowing that I'll be uplifting the well-being of my family as well as the community.
Mm-hmm.
And because farming is it's a noble
Right.
career, a profession.
Mm-hmm.
It really is more so than years ago. People used to think it was very noble, and it's kind of waned in the years.
Yeah.
But I feel it's going to be coming back, being seen as this noble career or profession for someone. So I just think personally for me, it's just it's uplifting.
Right.
It'll be uplifting. So.
Right. Yeah. Uplifting your family. All right.
Right.
Thank you for sharing. We appreciate that, Cedric. Ms. Donna, you got anything?
I was thought of that, but for me, personally, when you look at it, I'm thinking about self-sufficiency. Getting myself, walking through the garden, picking nutritious food, that I grow, and think about the things, the process that it has gone through. Okay, it's from my field to my fork. So
Right.
those are some of the things that I need personal satisfaction, just
Yeah.
to see grow and know that I produce that,
Right.
So,
Self-sufficiency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely a personal value there. So, all right, I hope that everybody's kind of wrote some things down. I know you don't have the book, but maybe you got your own paper at home, and that's good. Just you want to start to write some of these things down. If you write them down now, then you can transfer them to your curriculum book, and that one, then you can kind of piece it all together as you go back and go through these workshops, go through the book, look at the answers that you've written down, and allow it to be a working document for yourself, just like a business plan is, right? A business plan is a living, working document that never really dies. It's never really complete. So long as you're running your business. All right, so now here's where we get a little bit deeper into your operation itself. So we want you to describe a little bit more about your business in this next activity. So let's answer a few more questions to help you understand your business a little more. So answer that one. My business exists to what? To do what? Why does your business even exist? Just think on that for a minute. My business exists to do what? You want to know why you're even in the industry. You want to know why you're even doing what you're doing. Why do you exist? Why does your business exist? Critical question. All right. So if you haven't fully written that one down, just think on it. If you need to go back to it, that's fine. So a couple more questions. Do you currently sell the products that you're cultivating or growing within your operation, or that you're creating? Are you currently selling? I know there are a lot of people who are doing things as a hobby and they give things away to people, right? So, if you're in this workshop, then you're thinking about expanding or starting a business. So do you currently sell what it is that you create? If you are, list at least 3 different categories of product. Again, I'll give an example from what it is that I do. Not only do I compost, but I'm a farmer also. So I sell compost, I sell fresh produce, I sell services, right? So those are 3 different categories, 3 different types of products that I actually offer to the larger community. So if you are in the business of jellies and jams, right? I've seen a lot of value-added producers who are in that realm will create jams, they'll create hot sauces, right? They'll create pickled products. So, different categories of things. It's not just jams, right? It's a few different things. Miss Moderator, what would a few different categories of products you offer within Gingerly Tea Expressions?
Well, we're pivoting right now.
It's a pivot.
We actually are, we're pivoting, doing a hard pivot. But we have the tea blends that we sell. We do youth herbalism workshops. So even though it's not a product, what we're doing is taking the teas there and doing it in more an educational format.
Right.
So
Educational services, right?
Right, it's educational services, so that way the products are being purchased by another entity for access for the kids. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then also they make tinctures or flower essences, things of the sort as well. So the parts that I may not be able to use for teas or the quantity, I can make other products that will last longer, and also can go farther for the consumer as well.
Right, exactly. So perfect example. And what you just described is taking the not so, desirable parts for the tea and making a completely different product out of those parts. Right. So that goes to the heart of what it is that we're going to be talking about here, and what it is, one of our main objectives. taking that waste, no matter how big or how small,
Right.
right, and turning it into another type of product. That's the core. You just hit it right there on the head. That's the core of what we're doing. Yay! All right. So again, these questions are for your operation. How many people work with you? Right? If it's just you, it's just you to start out. Do you consider your operation more of a hobby? And if it is a hobby, it's nothing wrong with that. You might want to stay in the hobby area. That might be all of the satisfaction that you gain from doing what it is that you do. Of course, if you're in this workshop, you're thinking about, business and starting a small business or expanding, but it's nothing wrong with having a hobby. You might have an operation that you're currently working or running where you have a primary product, but something that's a spin-off product might just be a hobby, right? There's when you make kombucha, right? When you make that fermented tea drink that is good for your gut microbiome, there's excess. I think this is what they call a SCOBY. And the SCOBY is like the sort of like a waste product after you make the actual drink. And what's done with the SCOBY? So some people will just take that SCOBY and they'll break it down. They might make popsicles with it, or it might go into a compost pile or something like
You
that.
can also like add it to smoothies. So
See, there we go.
Nutritional benefits,
Right.
and then it hides the taste.
See, so that could be something that somebody might not have time to really do as a business or a part of their operation, but they'll take that SCOBY and they'll create something for family and friends because they know that it's beneficial for people in general.
Or even start starter kits. So finding that and creating starter kits for other people.
With the SCOBY.
Yes.
And using that to allow people to start making their own kombucha. Beautiful. Yes. So, and how long have you been producing or creating your product? Right? It's a good question. Where do you see yourself and your operation in the next 5 years? That's a little bit more in-depth thinking, but I don't want you to wreck your brain so hard, right? I just want you to think lightly. Where do you see yourself in your operation in 5 years? Do you see yourself still operating? Do you see yourself building some multi-million-dollar company and selling it off to somebody? Who knows? A lot of people do that every day. And that used to always boggle my mind, but it really does let you know how powerful money is. Like, people create businesses because they're passionate about it, but I guess when they reach a certain threshold and that money looks good from this parent company or this larger company come in, they want to buy it out, they're like, oh, 5 million? Like, here you go.
Yeah.
And we experienced that, right? We've seen that with black hair care companies. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of black women will create these amazing products. 7 to 10 years down the road, it ain't owned by that sister no more. So we see these things, but you were gonna chime in.
No,
Ms.
I
Christine.
think different perspective for folks that are, as they're looking at retirement. Some people, when they get to a certain age,
Yeah.
they use it because as an entrepreneur, especially in agriculture, how much opportunity do you have to actually save for retirement? So what ends up happening is if you can sell, that way you can be able to pay your bills and have the medical insurance and address those needs.
Yeah.
It becomes a retirement plan because you're investing all of your resources into your business. But that's usually folks that are at a certain age and they have to look at the exit strategy.
Yeah. That exit strategy, right?
But that's completely different from someone that's building the business with the sole purpose of selling it.
Yeah, right, exactly. So different viewpoints, different perspectives and approaches on how people are viewing where they want to go with that operation, right? That'll determine, and I guess that goes back to values, right? Mm-hmm. We can bring the value piece back in. Is this thing that I'm creating really, am I so passionate about it? I don't want to let it go, and this, that, and the third. But so all of those things play in. That's why we're going through these exercises to help you kind of learn yourself just a little bit more. What are you passionate about? Jot some words down that go into what you are passionate about. And it doesn't necessarily have to be related to the business that you're thinking about starting. But if you write those passions down, you'll be amazed at how some of those passions that you feel are unrelated can actually become related at a later time. You never know. It's a beautiful thing when you can take your passions and merge those things into what it is that you do on a daily basis. So what are you passionate about? Just jot a few things down. Just a couple of words, maybe. We are at 6:47. All right. Okay. All right. And does your current or prospective business or operation align with your passion? You know, not everybody that goes into business and starts a company are passionate about it. They might just see a niche in the market, right? They see a gap. They see a gap in the market. They see where they can fill it, and they fill it. And they'll work their butts off to fill it because they know that it's going to be a lucrative situation for themselves. They may not be passionate about it. So does your current or prospective business or operation align with your passions?
I have a question. Sorry for the
Yes. No, I love it.
Have you ever been in a position where you felt that your business did not align with your passion? And if so, what did you do to realign it? And I'm just thinking for some folks that, you know, one thing that I hear a lot is somewhere along the line it disconnected,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like trying to get back to that passion.
Right. That's a great question. So I'm trying to think if there was ever a moment. There's never really been a moment in as long as I've been in the realm of agriculture that has diverted me or discouraged me from wanting to walk in that path. What I've experienced, and I think it's something that we've all experienced a lot of times, where what may end up deterring you from what it is that you're doing are people, are other adults, co-workers, staff, right? But what's interesting, being in the ag world where you're kind of like your own boss, or if you do work for another farm, it's only like a handful of people. You know, it's not like you got this large staff and this large institution that you're working with. It's a very small, you know, set of people, and they usually try to find people that are in alignment with their values and that they mesh with. But I've experienced situations where the people didn't necessarily align with the vision that I had and, you know, where I wanted things to go. And that can sometimes stifle where you are, right? So even within the realm of agriculture, attempting to work outside of yourself. That's why so many entrepreneurs might be very, you know, they're not introverts, but they're fully, you know, into themselves, and they don't necessarily want to lend who they are out to the rest of the world. Now, I consider myself a very diplomatic person, right? But I've battled over the last few years with opportunities that exist outside of me, which is going to eventually do what? Take away energy that I can put directly into what it is that I do, that I created. So though that would maybe be the best answer to your question, is focusing on other people's agendas, you know, focusing on other people's ideals about what they want to see happen, instead of putting my time and energy directly into my own thing. But it doesn't take me long to get back there, you know.
What about market situation, or like the current economic, certain things they can't afford for that business, would that create some?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of businesses have failed over the past couple of years. I've experienced where I was able to, pay for, 3 people on my staff easily with no problems. And then when I saw some trends taking place within my business, like customers falling off or different subscribers starting to do their own thing instead of utilizing my service, I didn't catch that pivot, right? I didn't catch that wave fast enough, and I didn't adjust fast enough. And so then I ended up feeling that financial strain, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Do I cut back people's hours that they're working? Do I, let somebody go? Because I'm going to keep the business going no matter what. I have to keep it going. It's not even a question to shut it down. But yes, the economic situation, people are pulling back, right? Because what we offer sometimes is like a luxury service, right? And it may not be something that's a necessity, right? And when they don't see it as a necessity, they can say, all right, well, I gotta cancel my service or cancel my subscription, and we're gonna try to do what we've been doing with you on our own. And so I felt that, and what that made me do is start to think about how to diversify my operation, right? That I had to figure out additional products, additional services, going a little bit harder with marketing, trying to get a hold of social media as much as it takes to be that type of person where you're posting all of the time and gathering content to put it out. Like, larger companies have people specifically designated for those tasks. And as a small business person, you're either doing it yourself or you got, one of your children might do it, you know what I mean? Or one of your good friends will do it. Or you find somebody that you're working with to put that task on and say, hey, this might be an additional hour and a half, 2 hours added on to what you already do, but can you please focus on that? So, so the financial strain, felt it. All right, so next activity. So want you to think about this one and think about it thoroughly. Why do you do what you do? I'm not going to let you spend a whole lot of time on that. You should be able to answer that pretty quickly. Why? Why do you do, as a small business person or somebody that wants to get into a business, you're moving into a potential market, why do you do it? And it could be simple. I just want to make people happy. I just want people to eat good. I want them to experience, these hot sauces that are just absolutely amazing with these Scotch bonnet peppers and these Carolina Reapers and whatever else, whatever. I like, whatever it is that the reasons why you do it, just jot that down. Why do you do what you do? All right, and after answering the question of why you do what you do, think about what aspects you're really good at and what parts could use improvement. So the next activity, 1.4, explores that a little bit further. Why do you do what you do? What are you good at? And what parts could use improvement? So many small businesses, as many of you all know, entrepreneurs and farmers struggle. They struggle with similar challenges. So regarding your operation, list a few strengths and weaknesses that you know about yourself. And be honest with yourself so that you can see where you shine and where you could use some help. What's that? What's the SWOT analysis, Ms. Moderator? What does all that stand for?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that's something that you might go deeper with them maybe later on, possibly, right? For this exercise, I just want you to just think about yourself. What are some of your strengths and what are some of your weaknesses? Anybody want to share anything with that? A strength?
is technically my job to provide education to small producers who are operating out there. So
Right.
do you have a problem with pests, or can I help you to mitigate that problem so you spend less money on controlling them? Or can I help you to say, okay, use maybe crop rotation and less fertilizer that's keeping money to your business? So my role is a little bit different as an agent. I'm not
Right.
a small business owner now, but
Yeah.
you know.
But even within your job description and what it is that you've been, charged to do you ever find yourself, maybe feeling a little, that you lack a little bit of knowledge, or maybe there's something yeah.
For me, it's technically difficult for me coming from another territory, Jamaica, where I
Yes.
used to growing crops year round.
Right.
Coming into this system where, oh my God, what do I plant in December? What do I plant? So there's a little disconnect for me there. The weeds are different,
Right.
different jargon. So I'm still learning. So that's a little bit of technical thing for me.
Right.
I'm still learning while I'm on the job.
Yeah. So those strengths and weaknesses exist everywhere, no matter whether you're a small business owner or you work for an institution, right? You're going to notice those things about yourself. Anyone else want to possibly share anything?
So I know like a lot of my weaknesses are also my strengths. So I can be very detail oriented, but that's also a weakness if I'm spending too much time on something, right?
Right.
So there's things where I try to look at what are my weaknesses and use them to make them strengths, right? I'm a very relational person, so I like one-on-one relationships.
Yeah.
That takes time because there's only so much time in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's times when I go into a group setting, I may not be as impressionable because I'm a one-on-one person. So I like some people really thrive in being in the room full of people. I'm the opposite. I thrive individually. And then coming together, everyone will know, like, okay, she's just an extroverted introvert. But it's a weakness because sometimes I have to be able to be in that group of people.
Right.
So, but what I normally try to think of is what are my weaknesses and can I turn them into strengths? And same with my threats. When you think about the SWOT, if it's a threat, can I turn that into an opportunity? But you have to, and also the other one last thing is, I work hard, but that's also a weakness. Because if I don't walk away at times, because, especially for most people vested in their business, we want to work every day and get it done. But when you're burned out, you're less effective and your mind becomes blurry.
Right.
So then you're taking longer to do something versus taking the break and coming back and fixing it in 15 minutes versus 3 hours. So I will say that, when evaluating and creating the weaknesses, looking at the positive perspective to make it a strength.
Right.
But then also, if you're one to beat yourself up, which as entrepreneurs, it's easier for us to know what our shortcomings are.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're equally putting the same amount of energy in our strengths as our weaknesses.
All right. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Mr. Cedric, anything you wanted to share?
I just kind of think about with my dad and my uncles, but they've been farming for years, and I know definitely they have the knowledge of how to grow food and be successful in just growing.
Just the growing part.
Just growing aspect, but as far as after that, as far as like having a plan for how it's going to be marketed, how it's going to be, I guess the bookkeeping aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's not so. Those are definitely their weaknesses, and then also like Ms. Lynch said about as far as even having relationship, because relationships are very important, and I can say for myself that's like a strength that I have. I'm good at I'm good at being able to relate to people,
right,
and talk to people on a certain basis. But it's just knowing who you are and knowing like we're going through this exercise, knowing your strengths, and knowing your weaknesses. So definitely, it's very important.
Right. Yeah.
exact exercises.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing, everybody. We appreciate that. All right. So, knowing what you're good at and what you're not it'll actually empower you to identify what role you'll play in the business and what roles other people can play within your operation as you grow or you might be starting out with a partner. That's a critical part of knowing how you will position yourself and your coworkers into their proper roles to maximize efficiency and production. All right, so do not skip this important part of how your business will flow. All right. So one of the things that we also want to think about is job specialization within your operation. One of the major challenges that many business owners face is thinking that they can do it all. They think they can do everything. And it shouldn't take you long to figure out that you can't. You just absolutely cannot. And many excuses come up as to why you think you can do it or why you think you need to do everything. Nobody knows my business like me, right? I've said that. Like, man, they don't have the same passion. They can't, da-da-da-da-da. Nobody knows it like me. I can't afford to pay somebody to do such and such. You may be able to do it all in the early stages, but at some point you'll be faced with that question about how do you expand and whether or not and what roles you play and what you do well and where you need help. It's extremely critical. So learning how to delegate those duties and responsibilities will save you time and money in the short and long term. So now that we've done a little bit of soul searching, let's go a little bit deeper into who our customers are. So we're going to spend the next half hour going and thinking about what your target market looks like. Okay? Now, real quick, just to end this particular unit, I wanted to show you some values from a natural food distributor, United Natural Foods, Inc. So their values are, now these are very simple, but this is a conglomerate. This is a large company, and they keep their values very simple. We do the right thing. We courageously embrace what's next. We deliver better together, and we believe in better for all. So those are just simple examples of the values of a corporation, right? Which your individual values will eventually translate into the values of the organization at some point. All right, so let's go into unit 2, knowing your customer. All right, I know I'm gonna get a lot of discussion with you, Ms. Moderator, on this one. Yeah, no, and we need that. We need that. This is perfect. So target market, the problem, the solution, marketing, and advertising. All right, so knowing your customer. All right, so in the last unit, the conversation was all about you, your values, your operation. This unit is all about the customers, their needs and their desires. And these are some hard things to figure out initially, but at some point you'll begin to see trends on what your customer base looks like, their demographic, financial demographic, their just who they are. And so your customers are the ones that your business will provide service and product to. Do you need them or do they need you? These are fundamental questions to answer to get to the bottom of who they are. We have to paint a portrait of who your customers are. What do they look like? So we're talking age, race, zip code, a lot of different factors. So normally we look to traditional demographic categories such as age, gender, location, race, and income, right? We also want to look at the interests and values of your potential customer base. Now, how do you find those things out? So in your situation, an example could be that your customers are very serious about purchasing local products. They may be extremely interested in an intimate relationship between themselves and the business that they purchase from. They may want to be able to identify who creates their products and even have personal contact with them. As you see, the deeper interest could lie in things that could be very difficult to see in the beginning. just a quick example of my own experiences at selling at a farmer's market, at the Frenchtown Farmers Market, where I've sold for many years there. Their customers absolutely love to know that you grew these radishes. Oh, your farm grew these carrots, these beets, this lettuce, these collards. Oh my goodness, how they get so big. And then they engage in conversation with you. And when you are happy and proud about how you produce and how you grow and cultivate, you want to have those conversations with those people. You want to engage with them. You want them to know that you're doing it the right way, right? You think that you're doing it, you feel that you're doing it the right way. And so when they ask and you're like, I get a chance to talk about the fact that we're doing it the right way, man, I'm going all in. I'm talking to folks. So I've seen that. I've seen that personal relationship that customers want to have with the vendors. They want to have that intimate relationship. So much so that not only will they buy some produce from you, but they want to know how they can come volunteer at your farm. They want to know, what else do you do? Oh, I'm a school teacher. You think you'd be able to, be interested in coming and speaking in our schools? So again, those relationships, right? Those things happen, and you learn a lot about your customers when you have that direct one-on-one communication with them. All right, so quick exercise, y'all, to figure out who your customers are. Take a moment to fill out the table below and create the most accurate customer profile. So you got your demographic profile, and then your passion interest profile. It's going to be easy to list things on the demographic side. It's going to be a little bit more challenging to list things on the passion, interest, desires, and value side of your customers. Ms. Moderator, saw your face. What were you thinking?
My demographic is harder for me, to be honest. And it took me years to realize that it's the mindset. My target market is based off of mindset, not necessarily age or race or
financial status. It's where they want to go.
It's where they, right. So it's like more of their values, like folks that are committed to their own change in their situation, which may be different. Everyone's definition of success is different. It's also the commitment to want to know how to do better. And not saying we're gonna have this idealistic view of we're gonna do everything right tomorrow, but being able to identify what are the areas of improvement and what can you commit to in this time period. So if we at least change one critical thing, we have a win. And so, but it took me a very long time to realize that it's not, white or black, male or female. And so when I was diving deep, it's really, there's certain clients that just don't have the mindset. And I have more trouble with that particular mindset and having to be able to reference them to a better resource than myself. That way they can get the type of service they want.
Yeah.
Right. Because I may not be doing to do it the way they want me to do it.
Right.
And so instead of ruining the relationship, saying, well, you know what, this may be a better resource for you. And that way I have time to focus on those that actually want to improve and change.
Right. How quickly are you able to identify those things with a client?
Now, new people is easy. Because like,
Right.
But the ones that are already, I have that relationship with, it's a transition because you're emotionally vested and so then it's like having to have like multiple discussions and saying, okay, so, what is it that you're looking for again? How am I doing? What are the areas of improvement? And then having to come to the conclusion that I may not be the best fit for you. But there's an emotional attachment of no, we're gonna make it work. We really don't need to.
Right.
And sometimes you have to.
So when it's time to cut it off.
That's a nice way of me saying.
Yes.
But it's not goodbye.
Yeah.
It's just I'll see you around.
Yeah. Right. So that's interesting. So you've been able to tap into the mental component of your clientele, or at least seeing where they are mentally, emotionally, and like their levels of attachment to what it is that they do and whether or not they're open enough to receive the assistance that you're coming to bring.
Right, because I want to remain passionate. So I don't want to dread any meetings. I want to be able to go in and I'm just as excited as them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to the birthday parties because their son turned 4 and I want to be able to stay involved. But that means I have to also look deep and say, well, what's making me unhappy or where is that discomfort lying?
Mm.
So.
Yeah, very interesting. So funny, an interesting aspect of the demographic of people who actually subscribe to my compost service. And I think I mentioned this to you before. They're middle-aged Caucasian women who have, disposable income. That's just like the few little things that I've been able to grasp because I end up learning my customers, right? A lot of times they might subscribe to the service, and they're a small fraction of those that I've never really seen. They don't try to interact with me so much. They like my compost bucket out, pick that thing up. That's it. But then you got some customers, like when I'm just coming to drop the bucket off for the first time, oh, hi, they come outside and next thing you know, we talking about their garden, how to get their soil better, and it becomes a whole thing. And I've just allowed that because I'm okay with that, and then the relationship is created. And then they feel like they're a little bit easier when communicating with me. They're cool with that. I'm not just some distant person who's running this business, right? They actually got a chance to, see who I am, talk to me, and hear what I'm about and what I have to say. And those relationships are great. So same thing, I'm able to see what those passions are with these people when I get an opportunity to interact with them. And even beforehand, right? Because we're talking about how do you identify potential customers' passions and values. So I do get a lot of people who will just inquire, right? And through a small 2-minute conversation with a potential customer, I can hear where their passion lies, because usually they'll say something that's an indicator as to how much they are into what it is that you're doing, or the fact that they love local consumption. Like you'll hear some key words coming from these people that you'll be able to pick up on.
And can I piggyback off of that?
Sure.
Because what you said is important. Like having engaged customers is important because engaged customers tell other people.
Yes.
And so with anything, people that are loyal to the brand, when you're creating the brand, when they're loyal to it, they follow you, but they bring their family along, they bring their friends along.
Right.
And then now your customer base can grow quicker because you have those that are engaged versus some business models that are more impersonal. So we tend to follow brands that we like, whether it's food, clothes, whatever.
Yeah.
And we're loyal. We'll go to the grocery store. Oh, no, this is the wrong brand. I'll go across town to go
Right.
get
To find that one. Yeah.
because I don't know this farm.
Right.
And I'm one of those people. Like, what? I don't know this. No. Let's
Yeah.
go down. Let's keep going down the aisle or somewhere else, or I'll find it at the market.
Yeah. Yeah. So that word of mouth, those personal relationships create that could potentially increase your market presence simply because somebody loves what you do and what you create and what you produce. They're gonna speak on it, and then that goes back to also providing poor services or not being personable when it comes to communicating with people, or being kind of dry and cut off. Because there have been times where I've received emails or phone calls and I was just like, I just want to give them just one sentence, just be done with it, right? But I have to remind myself, no, I don't want to come off that way. I might be feeling like that at that moment, but why? Then you got to ask yourself, why am I feeling like that at that moment? Why am I frustrated from what somebody's asking me? Am I having a bad day? Right. Have I heard this question 1,000 times? Mm-hmm. So you got to take those things into account. All right, so let's move on, y'all. So that chart doesn't explain what every customer profile looks like, right? But you need to take into account varying factors to attain a broader conception of what your customer base looks like. So it might help to even generate a customer database as you interact with your customers. You could create a survey and just have a few questions. And of course, surveys are absolutely phenomenal for figuring out, what people are wanting, what they feel they need, how they feel about certain things. I mean, IFAS and FAMU, how do those institutions create programs and services and workshops? They survey. They survey people and they figure out what it is those needs are, and then you create programs based on what people say that they need and say that they want. So generating a customer database is good. Taking a survey with just a few basic questions to find out what your customers are all about, and then you use that data to kind of focus and drive and streamline your efforts. And so before we direct any time and money towards marketing, we must first understand what that problem is that you're trying to solve. So we're going to go down these questions pretty quickly. Some questions to consider. What problems do your customers face that your business will address? What are you doing? What are you bringing to the table that's going to fix and solve a problem that you've identified that there's a need for? What does your customer need? What do they desire? What do your customers care about? And that goes back to these relationships that we're able to kind of build with individual customers. How will my customer benefit from my business? Do my products and services align with their values? Can they live without my service or product? When do my products and or services fit in your customer's day? Like even down to when it fits into their schedule. Does what you do and what you offer fit into their schedule? What levels and types of competition will you have as you target potential customers? Are you the only one? You're almost like a little baby monopoly operating, or are there barriers to entry because there are a lot of other people doing what it is that you do or doing something similar? What other businesses are solving the problem, and how my customers are influenced? So just stop in there for a hot second. The word influence, like what type of word, when do you hear the word influence all the time now? Dealing with what?
Social media.
Social media. You got a core of people out there in the social media world that are considered what? Influencers. That is, this technocratic sort of society that we're evolving into, right? It's like, that's a job. Like, I'm an influencer. I can get online, and because of my following, I can influence the masses to go in a particular direction, to buy a particular thing. If a business wants me to wear, right, a lot of designers and clothing companies, they try to get in touch with an influencer. Man, wear my shirt, bro. Like, can you wear my shirt? Can you wear my outfit or my jewelry and my dress? And before you know it, that company blows up simply because that influencer put that company out there on the map through social media. So how are your customers influenced, right? What is actually playing in their mind? What are they watching? What are they looking at? Now, a lot of times these are things that larger corporations and larger businesses and governments are able to do. They can kind of track and watch and tell what people are clicking on. I mean, and that's the thing right now, right? It's what people are clicking on. And all of you have experienced it. You might just be sitting around and you mention something that you might be interested in. Before you know it, you pick up your phone or you get on it's like, man, are they really listening? You know what I mean? But you click on one thing in one app. That app is connected to another app. And now they start advertising for that one thing that you looked up on Google. It happens all of the time. All of the time. So it's the algorithm, right? So we want to know how your customers are influenced also. So again, a lot of these questions can be answered by simple surveys of existing and future customers. The most direct way to figure out what the problem is to speak to the customer. And listen to what they have to say. Asking them questions pertaining to how a specific problem is solved or how they are currently solving that problem can provide valuable insight And you may want to be able to, you want to mold your business, your business model to fit the needs of the people. So building relationships is critical to your success. We've been talking about it, and that's what is so important. Asking and answering these questions will assist you in identifying the solution to the problem that customers have. Why will your customers love your business? Why will they love it? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, is it just the product? Is it just the service? Or do you extend yourself? Do you put yourself in a position to make what you offer shine brighter than what everybody else is offering? And ask yourself, is my business trustworthy? Is my business model bursting with integrity? How will my business communicate effectively to others or effectively to my customers? And what is my brand really trying to say? Ms. Moderator, you had something to say?
Oh,
Okay. I saw some movement and I was like,
yeah, I said bursting.
oh, bursting with integrity. You're funny. All right, so now where are we on time check?
7:22.
7:22. Okay, I don't want to keep everybody till the 8 o'clock hour, so we're gonna move through this. So write down, and I want y'all to think about this. You can do this on your own time. Write down 5 to 10 phrases or keywords to describe your business to others. How will you communicate to your customers about who you are in order to connect with them more? Describe your business to others. If I were to describe my business to potential customers or even existing customers, I would say that we produce a superior product that doesn't even really exist in this market. We produce a craft product. These hands help to produce this product that we're bringing to you. Those so-called other composts and those other products out there, you don't know where they come from. You don't know who made it. You don't know if it went through the proper temperatures. You don't have a clue. We are transparent with how we produce, what we use to produce it, and we produce a craft superior product. That's just one thing that I would say to somebody. So think about 5 to 10 things that or how you would describe your business to others. All right, I want you to go and kind of focus on that on your own time. All right, the second point here, so after identifying who your customers are, we can begin now to focus on strategic ways to reach them. They need to know what you have to offer. So when you get an opportunity, I want you to look at how you currently reach your customers, right? How do you currently reach your customers? And then on the flip side, what are some of the additional ways that you would like to be able to reach your customers? Because nobody is just, handling their marketing and promotion and advertising efforts across the board. You may not be hitting every aspect, that you want. Like a lot of people advertise on social media, but they're not thinking about a billboard, right? Billboards are still very visible, but I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think most small businesses or up and coming businesses are thinking about a billboard. They might have some foresight thought about it, but there's so many different ways. So I want people to think about how are you currently reaching your customers, and then how would you like to reach your customers in the future. All right, so here's just a few ways that people currently reach their customers and some ways in which you might be using some of these things and you might not be using some of these things. Postcards, that's an old, antiquated, way of reaching people, but it still happens. Yeah. It still works. People, if it's just a regular postcard with just some lame words on it, you're probably going to rip it up and put it in your recycling bin. But if it comes in the mail and it has some, bursting logo, right? Or some like a lot of colors on it, and all of these visuals that just like, oh wow, what is this? It has to catch your eye, right? And that's how people will look at it, flip it around, and you know it might speak to them.
And Robin also put coupons. That gets the attention as well.
Coupons.
Coupons when you get them in the mail.
When you get them in the mail, absolutely. And that's such an old school way of getting people to engage with that business too, right? But yeah, coupons, absolutely. Newspaper, magazine, those can be pretty costly if you've ever tried to look into that way of advertising. Television, of course, needs some cash flow for that as well. And then of course I have social media highlighted because that is what everybody's doing these days. It's just the way you do it. And the more you engage, the more content you put up, the more hits. And then of course social media, Facebook and Instagram have ways in which you can pay additional monies for a broader reach, right? You can pay $5 and it'll shoot your posts out, 10 miles radius, right? It'll engage more people. So there are ways to utilize that social media piece to really tap into a broader customer range. Because most people on social media, if like you're not really savvy with it, you posting, you think everybody's seeing your stuff. Until you realize that there's only you got 5,000 friends on Facebook, and a very, very small fraction of those people actually get a chance to see what it is that you post.
While we're on the social media, there is a question. Is there a local urban farming YouTube channel?
I would say Smarter by Nature.
Okay.
Smarter by Nature TV. They have been producing content via YouTube for the past, I don't know, maybe like 2 to 3 years. And they've taken folks on an amazing journey of their progress and evolution as farmers. They've been in the urban farming space. They've been on a little bit on the rural space as well. They've experimented with that. They've done microgreens. And so I think they have a decent amount of content on YouTube that kind of highlights the various business parts that they've explored in agriculture. Now they're doing prepared foods.
Yes.
Yeah. So they've gone on their own journey and have tried to find and fit, what works best for them. And I've seen them grow from their very beginnings when they actually volunteered on the iGrow farm back in 2016 or 2015. And so it was interesting seeing their growth and evolution in this whole food game. So that's a good question. Any other comments or questions been on there?
No, that's the only one.
Okay, all right.
I'm feeding them as I receive them.
Okay, all right, good. And of course, word of mouth, which we mentioned earlier. Excellent way, one of the most pertinent ways that businesses gain additional clientele. You got some businesses that don't put any money into advertising. They've been able to create a following or create a customer base that the word just flies from their customers' mouths, and they don't even worry about, putting any money into any type of advertising. So it really works. So how you reach your customers and where you reach your customers has to be a well thought out marketing plan to maximize your ability to increase efficiency, generate revenue, and eventually scale up your operation, which we will address in the next unit. But here's some venues that we're talking about where you can sell your products, and or services. So farmers markets, which a lot of the focus with this particular series of workshops is on. Grocery stores. How do you get products in grocery stores? If it's a food product, you need your items need to be prepared in a commercial kitchen. And so we'll talk about what that looks like moving from the cottage industry of just doing it in your home to actually doing it in a commercial kitchen where you can move your product and generate more revenue and access greater markets just based on the fact that you created your product inside of a commercial kitchen. All right, food hubs such as the Frenchtown Neighborhood Improvement Association, online markets, which we have a great online market in Tallahassee called RHO Market or the Red Hills Online Market, where small farmers sell their products through. It's like the best setup for a beginning farmer. It's the best setup. The staff is wonderful. The program is user friendly, and they don't have any type of like real hardcore restrictions or limitations on, what or how, you can sell or what you can sell, as long as you're producing what it is that you're trying to sell. You can't be going and buying a bunch of stuff over in, down south and then bringing back stuff to try to sell on the market. It's local consumption, local production. That's key. And so that's what the Red Hills Online Market focuses on. And that is that is their mission from the beginning, was to increase, local and small farm capacity and generate additional streams of revenue for them. Facebook Marketplace, yes.
And there's just a comment that the Tobacco Museum is having an event next Saturday in Havana, so some type of farmers market. So that kind of feeds into what you're saying, like there's farmers markets all around.
Yeah.
Some pop-up style, others.
I was just thinking the pop-up style, right? And that's something that we may have to tap into, right?
Yes.
Just, the pop-up aspect of what we're doing with
Right.
market expansion.
Right, so that's
Yeah.
part of the program.
Awesome. Okay. So Facebook Marketplace, you go to Facebook Marketplace, it's a lot of scammers on there, but it is a way for you to sell. Now, I say that because you have to be diligent. You have to be careful when you move into certain online venues to either sell or buy product. There are people on there who do not have the integrity and character that you have. And, but it is a venue for you to sell through. Restaurants, you're selling foods and packaged goods, meat. If you're a rancher, you can sell to restaurants and various institutions, like colleges, even the school district. Again, depending on how you raise your food and what channels your food is moving through, that makes it available to those larger institutions. Right? I know for some ranchers, it all depends on what type of facility that you're getting your meat processed at. Some are a little bit more lax than others, where you have, like at Fort Valley State University in Fort Valley, Georgia, they have a USDA certified meat technology center. And so, like, they process the animal, they package it, put your farm name on it, put the weight on it, and you can like literally take product that was processed in this facility and immediately go to grocery stores or immediately go to restaurants. So it depends on how your product is processed. Yes.
So there's a question, do you know if the farmers get some kind of reimbursement from farm share events?
Do farmers get some type of reimbursement
For
for farm share? From what I know, I think farm share relies solely on food being donated.
Okay, so it's donated.
And so it's donated. And so through that, I guess there's a potential tax write-off, right?
Correct.
Possibly, right?
Yes, so for farmers that donate produce,
Right.
they would receive documentation
Yeah.
from who they donated to,
Yeah.
and it's a write-off.
And it's a write-off, right? Exactly. So, but that, farm shares, I think, is 100% donated food.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's usually farms that are on the outskirts that are producing just for farm share.
Right.
They're producing, maybe just for farm share and maybe a few other venues, but they produce enough to be able to supply farm share throughout the season. On farm market stands, there aren't a lot of farms who do that, but there are, if you got an attractive space and you want to bring people to your space, you can have a farm stand right there on the site. So instead of because I know a farmer, he's not currently doing any farming right now, but instead of him going to markets on Saturday, he would just advertise for people to come to him on Saturdays and come to his own personal market stand. So that's something that you could do. And festivals and events. That's huge. Yeah, I mean, there's, like you just mentioned, the Tobacco Museum in Havana. That's an event coming up. So you can go to that and set up as a vendor, and you got access to all kind of people that are coming through that event. All right, so marketing strategies. And we just went over these, all right? So I don't want to read into all of these because a lot of them are self-explanatory. But most business owners truly understand that marketing is everything when it comes to your ability to generate revenue and to grow. So going deeper into those strategies is a way for us to position ourselves to grow and to find customers. So a few of these will be some you didn't see in the previous slide, but some are there. But I'm just going to mention a few additional ways in which you can sell your product and get your product out to people. So again, farmers markets. All right, they generally offer a reliable, flexible outlet where vendors can sell a wide range of fresh produce, honey, plants, value-added products, eggs, meats, cheeses, etc. Farmers markets are continuing to grow, and it depends on where you are in the country. Some states and cities have a bustling farmers market culture, right? Tallahassee and surrounding areas does not. We're trying to get to that point. You go to places like New York, places up on the Northeast, Austin, Asheville, North Carolina, various cities in North Carolina, a lot on the Northeast, of course going out west to Cali. The farmers market culture is very, very strong in a lot of different cities, specifically some of the ones that I mentioned. Tallahassee, we've seen it kind of up and down. We've seen markets come and we've seen markets fall off. So this particular program that we're discussing today is to help us increase our ability to create and generate farmers markets and bring that to meet those objectives that we talked about earlier. One, bringing fresh and healthy produce to people across the region. So really quick, according to a SARE manual, and SARE is a subsidiary of the USDA, stands for Southern Agricultural Research Education. Their manual, Marketing Strategies for Farmers and Ranchers, on pages 3 and 4. And you can order these little booklets. You can order them through SARE, S-A-R-E. They say that they want you to keep in mind when engaging with a farmer's market is that successful markets are located in busy, central places and well publicized, right? So as we try to start markets, as you act on an advisory board to help another organization start a market, you have to keep these things into perspective. Don't deliberately or drastically undersell your fellow farmers. If everybody's kind of like at that $4 or $5 range for a bundle of whatever, and you selling it for $2 or $3, they're gonna be looking at you like, man, come on, you cutting our legs from under us. And so, in order to keep that culture sort of whole and friendly and competitive, you don't want to undercut your fellow farmers. The more farmers and farm products at the market, the better, and the more customers that'll come. So, and I've seen it. Like, I've been at a booth. I've been at my booth, and I'll see another 2 or 3 farmers that might have similar or the same products. But what savvy customers do, they'll make sure that they buy from every farmer. And they'll get what it is that they need for their meals at home or their dinner or whatever it is that they're shopping for. But they want to make sure that they support everybody because they want those farmers to always be in rotation. You don't want to go to a farmer's market and everybody just lined up at one person's table and they're neglecting the other farmers. And so a lot of that comes into what people are selling. Are they growing it themselves? Is it you know, is there a culture of camaraderie amongst the vendors? Or is this vendor like, I don't care if you don't sell nothing. That ain't my fault. That ain't my fault. That ain't my problem. I don't care. Right? And what happens, certain situations take place. One farmer or one person that's selling produce has things completely different from the farmers in the area who actually grow. And then those farmers that actually grow realize that they can't necessarily compete with somebody who's not really growing, right? And then they stop coming. They stop coming. And now you have a market where there's no farmers and just one person sort of selling stuff, right? And so what does that do? The market managers, which is a very key point in this particular part, is to make sure that there's somewhat of an even level playing field when it comes to the vendors and them setting up at that market. So there's different rules for different markets across the country, right? Some market managers say, well, we want a vendor to be able to sell 50% of what you grow, and then maybe 50% resale, or 60-70% you grow your own, 30% resale. Some markets say you can't resell at all. And some markets say, oh, you can resell whatever you want to resell. 100% of what you bring can be resale. So it depends on what you're allowing and what you're trying to create when establishing a market, keeping your vendors happy, because that's the biggest thing. If you don't keep your vendors happy, they'll go to another market. They will dip out and not look back. Ms. Moderator, you had something to say earlier.
So there was a question. Do you know what happened to the city of Tallahassee's initiative to have fresh produce at every 1 to 2 mile break interval? Are you aware of that?
At every 1 to 2 mile interval?
Are you aware of that initiative?
I know that the city of Tallahassee had a farmer's market on the south side in the Bond community, and they were doing that like every 2 weeks, I think maybe twice a month. And they were offering vouchers and coupons for local residents to come in, you know, purchase fresh produce. And so that's probably written into a larger food security plan. But I don't know exactly where they are with that. I know that the city has a city farm, farm and entrepreneur program, right? And we were able to establish a farm on in the Bond community, which is now being run by participants and graduates of that program. And so how that food is getting out to the people is not yet. That's like the next part to growing, right? But you mentioned your relatives' experience and what we're trying to address here. Like somebody might be excellent at growing, but they don't have the skill set or the wherewithal to get that food to market. So right now, that city farm plot is still a learning plot. It's still almost like an incubator sort of space where we're housing these graduates of this program, giving them like maybe 2 or 3 rows to grow on as they become more knowledgeable and a little bit more savvy with their growing practices. And then the Vacant to Vibrant program with the city is supposed to allow these graduates to get a lot for $1 a year or something like that, so they can grow food and sell food. But that's it's an uphill battle. That process is very difficult to enter into, especially when people are working other jobs, But that's what I know right now in terms of what the city is still doing.
Okay. Thank you.
So where are we? So the farmers markets. So a good market manager promotes the market and enforces its rules. That is critical. Markets that fall off and don't see the success that they once saw, or it becomes difficult for them to reach that level of success again, it all boils down to the market manager. The market manager has to be an individual who really allows those vendors to be free in what they do, but enforce the rules that have been established by that institution. You have to enforce the rules. That way, people they just be doing whatever. They're all over the place and they're not focused on following, because the rules are established to, of course, keep and maintain order and allow the market to flow. So a good market manager is key to setting up these markets that we're looking to set up. We have to identify and find people who are good at not being afraid to speak to a market vendor when it gets tough. I've seen it. I've seen it where the market manager might be a young, college student. And then you got an older man vendor who's like talking down to this market manager. And the market manager doesn't have the wherewithal to push back or to enforce these rules, or they don't even know what to do when they're faced with that type of challenge or confrontation. So you got to have a good market manager. Selling at a farmer's market may provide contacts for other channels, such as special orders and subscriptions. And also get feedback from your customers. You can learn a lot about what they find desirable and what to grow next season. I've done that a lot where I've sold produce and I'm like, well, you can prepare it like this, or they have an idea as to how they want to prepare it. I'm like, awesome. When I see you next week, let me know how it turned out. And they will come back and say, oh man, it was great. It was delicious. We did this, that, and the third. And they'll provide feedback. And that's gratifying as a grower. Okay, another channel is a CSA, community supported agriculture. The most regular model, or the most basic model of a CSA, is when customers pay you up front for either a half year or a season's produce. And so that's an amazing cash injection that the farmers get to get everything that they need in order to grow food for these customers. So they pay for a season, or they pay for 2 seasons. The farmers grow and make sure that they grow well, and they're very diligent in their production processes, because you have to provide that food every week or every other week for these people. So they're trusting in you that you're going to deliver what you say you deliver, that you're going to deliver. Now imagine being in that position where these people, you got 50 people that have paid you $200 or $300, boom, nice little cash injection, and something happens to a crop.
Yeah, there's so much risk and
It's so much risk. Like, you have to be so perfect with your production.
Unless it's like maybe more protected ag, but there's so much
Could be in certain areas, right? You're dealing with hoop houses and dealing with ways in which you can protect your crop. I feel bad for the farmers around here who lost their crop during that 3-day freeze. Imagine how many of them were a part of a CSA, that they were providing food to people. And all of a sudden, almost 80 to 90% of your crop gone. There were a lot of sad. I talked to a rancher. This one lady lost like 50 pigs. Lost 50 hogs because it was so cold that the hogs are now bunching up on each other to stay warm, and they end up killing off, the majority of them were like piglets. They crushed them. So it's just little things like that you never know what's going to happen based on temperature, based on climate. And one of our units towards the end of this curriculum set is resiliency. What do we need to do in order to be able to combat these climate changes that we're experiencing? So that's a CSA. People pay you up front, and then you provide and deliver produce on a weekly or bi-weekly basis for these families that have invested. On-farm sales, like I mentioned before, just a farm stand. People can come to you and they can purchase what it is that you have to offer. But you got to be in a position to do that. You might be trying to get some work done. You might be on the tractor, but you open it up for people to come in and purchase. So, you have to manage your time and manage your duties properly in order to really open it up for customers to come on the farm. Because if you put it out there and you advertise it, people will come. They will come. And you got to be ready to harvest. If you like to weigh your produce to keep track of what's coming out of your garden, then those are little processes that you have. So you got to be ready and willing. And do you need another person to help you with that? So very, very critical. Yes. Where are we?
With what?
Oh, time.
7:51.
Ooh, okay. All right, so on-farm sales, agritourism. A lot of farmers and ranchers are moving into this realm. Agritourism is a great way to generate interest and to generate revenue. If you have a very beautiful space, or if you have a space that people find interesting, whether it be animals, a lot of agritourism spots are people that have sheep and goat and llama and peacocks and all kind of stuff, right? You offer that kind of service, people love that, and they'll pay just to come tour your property and see what you have. And you can do that on a small scale too, even an urban farm. You can charge people to come in and you can talk about what you do in a third of an acre, a half of an acre. It's not like there's, you have to have some unlimited space to be able to generate revenue from agritourism. You can be a small operation. You can be in a warehouse growing mushrooms, growing microgreens, and people consider those places farms. Technically they consider it a farm.
Just want to say something right quick.
Yeah.
But I know I remember talking to someone before even the whole pandemic came about, as far as agritourism here in Gadsden County, that's something that we as a county would be, should be looking into, farmers around here. And this was actually before, the pandemic. So, and we know during the pandemic, a lot of people from, like upstate New York, and people who hadn't really been on farms, true farms, and they've already moved down here. And it just kind of, it just made me think about it even more as far as creating that, more agritourism here. So that a lot of those people their children haven't touched, kids that haven't really touched the dirt.
They haven't touched the soil.
They haven't touched the soil.
They ain't pulled a carrot out of the ground.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And just, that's, that whole agritourism thing is something that,
Yeah, we do have a few interests. Farmers have called and that they want to get involved.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. And also on the agritourism side, they have something connected to Airbnb. It's called Airbnb Experience. And so if you have a home or a space that people come to, and there's an adjacent farm, like that you can charge extra for that experience.
We had a meeting. There's some clause to that where, in order to be classified, I don't want to give wrong information, but there's something we had a meeting where it had something to do with having a structure on the farm to be considered. But I don't want to give it wrong, but I double check my notes. But there's something that, it's a no-no, that they won't allow certain things, but I don't remember.
And I think you could have an account for experiences without being a host. I think.
I'm not sure. I don't want to misinform you. There's something about it, because we had a group who came up to talk about agritourism. There's some clause, I have notes somewhere, but I'll double check on this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So agritourism big. Online markets, like we mentioned, the RHO market, you can see that link on the page there. You can just go rhomarket.com and you can immediately tap into purchasing your groceries from over 100 local farmers through this online venue. So the farmers have an account, they list their produce or what it is that they're selling, customers buy, and then whatever that order is, they give you a ticket Tuesday morning, and then you have either Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning to deliver what you have to harvest, what your customers purchase, to that hub. And then once it's in the hub, they have volunteers and people that work there that'll put together bags for customers. And you can have a customer that bought from 10 different farms, and it's all, laid out in spreadsheet form, so they're able to see, okay, well, Miss Williams ordered these 10 items from those 10 farms. And then they'll pack that bag with her 10 items, and they'll either deliver it to her door, or they'll deliver those bags to another sub hub, so to speak, right? Another hub. and that's in the area where those people live, and then they can come and pick up their grocery bag. So it's a great way to eliminate waste, because when you go to a farmer's market as a producer, you harvested a bunch of stuff that you hope to sell, but a lot of times you walk away and you might have 10, 15, 20 pounds of produce left. Then you gotta decide what to do with it. Do I want to take this home? Do I want to find somebody to give it to? I want to, but ordering through an online venue is pick to order. The order comes through, you pick, no waste, no shrinkage, no overage, no nothing. You got it right there. Another website that's really, really cool is barntodoor.com. I used to use that website, but it's a great way for independent farms to sell their products. barntodoor.com. They have a great support staff to kind of walk you through being able to sell your product, but I highly recommend it to different farmers and ranchers who want to find them at the venue. If they want to like kind of have their own storefront, online storefront, it's a great portal to do so. Food hubs. This one right here, East End Market, is a really, really cool food hub in Orlando. EastEndMKT.com. It's a really interesting food hub. It's where a few of us from Tallahassee went down to this East End Market quite a few years ago to see how it was operating. So just a quick overview of it. You walk in, you walk up to the space, got a beautiful garden on the outside, right? Kind of stretching across the entire front of the space. You walk in, there's storefronts, people who rent booths to sell their individual goods. Up top, a commercial kitchen. So then you got people who are able to produce up top, and if they buy a booth, then they can sell their goods through their own booth downstairs. And so the Frenchtown Hub is, for many years we were trying to kind of model what we wanted to do here. We tried to bring that vision back from Orlando to Tallahassee. And so we're still developing and trying to evolve into having a spot where people can not only just come for the farmer's market on a Saturday, but there's a storefront or there's a spot and a place where people can actually shop, every day of the week, or at least a few days out of the week, as well as creating an online platform. These are just some of the ideas that have been put out there, over the past several months. But even an online platform operated through the Frenchtown Hub website, and for customers or for vendors who want to utilize that online space, they have to maybe commit to attending a market every Saturday. So we want to, on a Saturday. So we want to provide incentives for potential vendors to be able to come in and sell, but also set up shop on a Saturday. So restaurants and institutions, great way to take your product, especially if you're operating out of a commercial kitchen, to sell your product through. Upscale restaurants pay lots of good money for mushrooms and for lamb and for sort of your niche sort of products that a lot of farmers may not be growing. So you might grow black radishes, right? There's a restaurant here in town now called Black Radish. A lot of people didn't even know that there was a black radish, but you grow things that are not normal, and a lot of high-end and upscale restaurants will buy those products. Buy local campaigns. Just a real quick stat that I want to point out before we wrap it up. So a study done in 2011 and 2012 highlighted in the May 2014 Journal of Agricultural and Applied Economics indicated that of 9 major cities across the state of Florida, Tallahassee had the highest average annual local purchases per household. The study also indicated that Tallahassee had the highest percentage at 36% of the share of local food purchases for at-home consumption. So those stats basically are saying that Tallahassee kind of outshined Gainesville, outshined Ocala, and all of the 3 largest counties in South Florida when it came to local purchasing. Like, we are a community that's into and we love local food consumption. And so knowing that, now this was back in 2011, 2012, is when the study was done. So here we are 10 years later, right? Where are we now in regards to those percentages? Are we still close to it? Are we higher? Are we lower? You know, we need to find out, because I would think that it would be some level of consistency still from 2011, 2012 study. And if that's the case, then we, local producers, are in the perfect position to be able to grow local food products, create local value add products, and get these things out to the people. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know who conducted the study?
I'm not sure who conducted it. I probably have it in my notes, but it was in that journal, the 20, so maybe that's a, you know, if we can reference that, we may be able to find out who did the study.
Okay.
So that number expressed how important local food consumption is in a city like Tallahassee, with Gainesville being the second highest. Nonprofits are in a good position to facilitate buy local campaigns, utilizing grant funds to implement the campaign. So collectively, farmers can organize to initiate such a campaign, as well as team up with each other and other nonprofits to make that a reality. So now you have a deeper understanding of the varying outlets for your amazing items that you produce on your farm or in your kitchen. All right, so that will conclude the workshop for this evening, units 1 and 2. The next workshop is scheduled for next Thursday in Jefferson County at the Jefferson County Extension Office, and we are going to focus on from cottage to commercial. And this is a great unit that we're going to have a lot of fun with. This unit 3 and the unit 4 piece. Unit 4 is the value added production piece. We're going to have a lot of fun with those 2 units, and I hope that everybody can attend. We like greater participation, those that were on tonight and those that were here in person. We give thanks for you. We know that you could have done anything else with your Thursday evening, but you're here, and you all that are online are here, and we appreciate that. So with that said,
And
I think we'll
Ricardo
conclude.
appreciates you as well.
So what?
Ricardo appreciates you as well.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, brother. We really appreciate that. Thank you for everything that you're doing, man. I know you try to, you know, you're working on getting yourself up into this urban farming game, and we're here to assist. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, all right, we'll conclude there. Thank you, everybody.